It's time for Inside the Numbers, Thanksgiving Day edition with Mike Bernard. Mike, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Glad that you were able to get up with us early before all the festivities get started today.
Yeah, I'll eat leftovers. I'll be in the office all day, but a good way to start the day is being on Inside the Numbers.
Yeah, and with that turkey hangover after all that turkey we eat a little bit later on this morning and later on in the afternoon, and then tonight. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a turkey kind of day, or at least
Yeah,
for most people. I'm actually a ham guy on Thanksgiving. I like some ham on Thanksgiving.
I like it all. I eat it for 4 straight days, whatever I can get.
That's right. Okay, let's talk about the games this weekend. Number three, Michigan. Number two, Ohio State. That's the noon kickoff on Fox. This is a game I can't wait for. I watched my first one of these back in 1969. It was the first year of the 10-year war between Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler. That was Bo's first season. The number 12 Wolverines upset the number one Buckeyes. My opinion, this is the most intense college football rivalry that involves different states. I want to upset all the Auburn, Alabama people, all the Georgia Tech, so on and so on. But for different states, though, this is the most intense rivalry I think is out there. The winner pretty much punches their ticket to the college football playoff unless we have a collapse in the Big Ten championship game like we did back in 2013 with Ohio State. Both of these teams coming in undefeated at 11-0. Buckeyes, they've won 8 straight over Michigan until last year. And the Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh got the win. Jim Harbaugh was, of course, first win against the Buckeyes. And it wasn't, in as far as this rivalry goes, it wasn't a close game. The Wolverines won by 15. And in this series, that's a pretty good spread there.
Yeah, and that was a monkey off the back for Harbaugh. And Harbaugh's in a tough spot. And he's not the nicest dude on the planet, but he can coach. And
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe that Michigan fans were like, "Hey, we got to get rid of him to get
Mm-hmm.
who?" Right? It's like
Right.
he's in the Big Ten East. All
Mm-hmm.
right, there's a lot of good teams there, notably Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State. Now, some of the media hype trains, they're going to lead you to believe that this series is nip and tuck and features close games, but it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the last 4 meetings were all decided by double digits.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, both teams coming off poor performances. Michigan, they had to have a last-second field goal to beat Illinois. And, of course, Ohio State barely escaped Maryland as a 4-touchdown favorite.
Yeah, you mentioned that as offensive have opened up this series and the points have opened up between these two teams. There was a 4-year period back in the 70s that neither team scored more than one touchdown in a game. You had scores like 10-6, 13-10, and
You mean
again.
like 2022 Iowa?
Exactly. No doubt about that. As far as this year, though, Michigan may have trouble putting some points on the board because they're going to be shorthanded. Running back Blake Corum suffered a knee injury in the first half against Illinois. Harbaugh's been very tight-lipped about his availability. Everybody's acting like, oh, everything's great, everything's fine. Listen, I don't think he's going to play, and if he does play, he's not going to be 100%, and this has got to favor the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and he's too little anyway. I'm not saying he's tiny, but he's just not big enough and durable enough. And he's a fun player to watch. But like you say, even if he does play, he's going to be a smaller type back that's hurt. So that's going to hurt Michigan. Now, when I read the point spread of this game and then add in the recent history, it says Ohio State covers. I would lean a little bit Ohio State, but I think I'm going to go more toward the over here, Coach. 9 straight overs in this series, and this year the total is a fair number at 57.
Moving on to Notre Dame and USC, the Trojans As we mentioned, the winner of that Ohio State-Michigan game is pretty much going to punch their ticket to the college football playoff. USC, they can't punch their ticket to the college football playoff with a win over Notre Dame, but they are going to have it if they're going to win out and have a chance to get in. The Irish 8-3, 10-1 Trojans. The Irish, they've beaten the Trojans 4 straight and 7 of the last 9. This is going to be the first time in a while that this game has meant so much to the Trojans.
Yeah, all the pressure is on USC. Notre Dame, they have 3 losses. SC has to win out. They've heard it. They know it. They've read it. It looks like a good spot to play Notre Dame here.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman's first year in South Bend started off a little rocky, but a convincing win over Clemson gives the indication that the Irish now have their sea legs and they've kind of gelled under Marcus Freeman. And I think that if you take what they've done up to this point in the season and put a win versus USC, I think you would have to deem this season and this team a success.
Agreed. Certainly getting a win Saturday. And listen, I already have a ticket on Notre Dame +6. I like them getting 5 or more. I made a small bet on Notre Dame on the money line to win the game +190. I look for, spots and situations. Remember the Arkansas LSU. I mean, that's what you want to find. You want to find those spots and situations, the flat spots, and play against the public if possible. Public's going to be all over USC here, and they got to face that dreaded pressure of November. And they're at home, but it's still going to be a lot of pressure on USC.
Yeah, and another team that we've talked about since for the last 3 weeks about the pressure of November and waiting for them to crack under that pressure is TCU. They host Iowa State Saturday at 4 p.m. on Fox in a Big 12 showdown. Sonny Dykes, Max Duggan, they just keep winning. And I thought it was going to happen last Saturday. I thought, man, there's no way they're going to run the ball and then get a field goal team out there and kick the thing through the uprights and win on a walk-off. And they did. Listen, all TCU has to do right now is beat a 7-loss Iowa State to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. And it's funny, we talk about Ohio State, Michigan, they'll punch their ticket with this win. TCU still not getting any respect from outside. And I think Sonny Dykes, he loves that.
Yeah, he likes that. He was calm and reserved when he was asked over and over again, what were you thinking about running the ball? It's like, we practice that all the time. It was no sweat. He's been around. Okay. And here, the 2014 TCU team would, in my opinion, blow this TCU team off the field by 2 touchdowns. Okay. And that team got left out. But this team, they're getting measured against much weaker teams in that 2014 year, in my opinion. So they have a chance if they win out. And but I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching and listening, they know where I'm going with this one. Matt Campbell, he's beloved by media. A lot of odds makers like him for quite some time now. He's a good coach, but frankly, his team's underperformed. But this is a spot where his team show up. They're a 10-point dog. They have 7 losses, and they force Big 12 opponents to play old school, grind it out. You talked about Ohio State, Michigan, that old school Big 10 football. That's what he sucks every team into that type of scenario, and most teams aren't comfortable there. So, it's a tough spot for TCU, but they've passed all the tests so far.
Yeah, the only advantage I see for TCU in this game is that they're playing at home. I think we're looking at another quote-unquote ugly game that Iowa State likes to play. Listen, the Cyclones, they like to crush teams' national championship hopes with a late season loss. They've done that under previous coaches, not just Matt Campbell. And Sonny Dykes, he knows this, and frankly, he would rather be the underdog. I think your team is more focused when they feel they're not getting respect. And again, we've talked about that for several weeks now about, well, oh yeah, they won, but and that's what we've always thrown in there. But in my opinion, this week has to be Dyke's best coaching job. TCU can't afford a letdown. One loss, and they can kiss goodbye any chance of getting to the college football playoffs.
Yeah, agreed. They passed every test, not with ease, but they passed every test. Iowa State, they're in a good spot here. They don't have any pressure. I'm going to take the 10 points, stay with the theme of siding with November pressure.
Yeah. Usually when we're at this juncture of the season and we're talking about an interstate rivalry that's going to have significant implications on the college football playoffs, we're talking about the Iron Bowl between Auburn and Alabama, but that's not the game this year. That game is really just going to be played for pride because obviously Auburn's not going and Alabama's not going to the college football playoffs this year. But in Clemson,
wait, you didn't see the emails?
Oh yeah, I saw those emails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when I hit the delete button when I see that how Alabama's going to make it. I read the first three and then I chunked the rest of them. And but there's still there's still a mathematical probability according to most Alabama fans they're going to get there. So we'll see how that plays out. But in Clemson, South Carolina, there is an interstate rivalry that does have implications with the college football playoffs, and that is South Carolina going into Death Valley to take on the Tigers at noon. Listen, Clemson, they're trying to make a bid for their 7th appearance. I think it's 7 of 8, correct? Is that what that number is?
7 of 9.
7 of 9.
They didn't go in 14, and they didn't go last year.
Okay. South Carolina, of course, coming off that stunning victory over Tennessee. And like LSU after the Bama game, my question is how much gas does the Gamecocks have left in their tank? Because, again, it was a great win, but they expended a lot of energy to get that win over the Vols emotionally and every other way.
Yeah. And not often do I label an in-state rivalry game as a letdown spot, but that's how I view this South Carolina situation. They absolutely destroyed Tennessee. It wasn't close. There was nothing fluky about it. They just ran up and down the field on them. And they've been told about how great they are, and they've watched the highlights. And, now they're going to go ahead and bust Clemson's bubble. Mm-hmm. And look, Clemson is not the Clemson that was led by Watson and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they're not the same team, but they're still formidable. And they're still a step above the Gamecocks.
Yeah, Dabo, he's had Clemson playing for championship so often now, year in and year out, that it's just that the Clemson fans, to an extent, have become like the Alabama fans. Well, if we don't win the national championship, it is not a good year. Listen, the Tigers were 10-3 last year with a bowl win, but no college football playoffs. Huge disappointment for the Clemson faithful. Now, let's kind of look and see what they're comparing themselves to. Before Dabo, Clemson had 7 10-win seasons in 112 years of football. Since Dabo took over, he's had 12 10-win plus seasons in 15 years, and he's got a couple of national titles to go with it. I think Dabo knows what he's doing.
Yeah. In addition to those 2 national titles we just mentioned, he's been to the playoff 7 of 9 years, right? If he gets there this year.
Right.
And look, hey, I played the Tigers here. I like underdogs. I lean to unders. There's more value there. But I don't, I do play favorites. And I played Clemson minus the 2 touchdowns. It's a rare flat spot for South Carolina in a rivalry game. Clemson needs the game. They need to win impressively. And Coach, this is irrefutable. I know that people get upset, if I pick this or that, and I don't really care, but who they pull for. But still, this is what's, undeniable. The last 5 seasons, Clemson's won 30-0, 38-3, 56-35, 34-10, and 56-7. I don't think it's going to be that lopsided this year, but South Carolina players and their staff, they know that. They know, and if Clemson gets ahead early, they'll be thinking, well, here we go again.
Yeah, and Clemson needs to win with the proverbial style points. They need to be able to have that, one of these, multi-touchdown victories against South Carolina would look impressive to the committee, especially after what South Carolina did to Tennessee last week.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that South Carolina game does two things that help Clemson. Number one, it gets their attention, right? If they didn't already have it. And number two, it gives them, a better grade if and when they do beat South Carolina in the committee's eyes.
Well, Mike, we're not going to keep you any longer this Thanksgiving morning. You have a great time with you and yours. And, of course, I know you're working today with some NFL games. So we're not going to keep you and let you go. We'll talk to you early Sunday morning. We'll review the college games and probably some of these NFL games too.
Look forward to it. Have a great weekend.